everybody. This is another episode of Thinking Out Loud on Save the Arts TV. And if you have not subscribed, then you are missing out. We have Tiffany McKeever here.
As Tiffany Speaxs.
Tiffany Speaxs, yes. Yes, ma'am. That's exactly what
I changed it like a week ago.
And that is the topic for the day. So, the topic of the day is separation.
Yes, separation. Yeah, ladies.
And the males.
And men, yeah, because sometimes it is a man that decides to leave a relationship. So, that's just as important.
It's very important.
So, what makes you want to separate from a relationship? Let's start off with that.
Well, since I can only speak from my perspective, you know, which is fine. For me, right, it was a series of events. It wasn't just one thing, right? Because if there's just one thing and you leave, like, you a flight risk. Like, nobody, you know, you can't stay in the relationship. So it was a series of events. And I think what really did it for me is when my daughter kind of came to me and said, you know, you're angry, Mom. You know, you've changed and you're not the same. And so it caused me to kind of look at things differently and address things differently. And I think how you start is how you're going to finish.
Wow.
I just think how you start is how you're going to finish, because the way that I started in the relationship, it wasn't solid. I wasn't sure. I was going off of the idea of this person is a good person. They have good morals.
I think a lot of women do that.
They have good fatherhood skills. A good person, loves God. I never thought about our relationship. It was all the other things that I saw, but at the end of the day, that's nice. It is great. Like, if you have that too, that'd be great. But our relationship is, I gotta deal with you every day. You know, and honestly, it came down to, it was, like I said, a lot of events I'm not gonna get into. But yeah, it came down to, we just didn't, we did not come together. We never had a friendship. And it happened fast too. Like, the marriage happened really fast. And we didn't give us enough time to become friends and say, okay, this is a good idea. Even though we, you know, there were ideas of marriage, we didn't give it enough time. We were still operating off of dopamine.
Right.
So, you know, you should know what dopamine is if you're watching this, hopefully. Maybe not. It's a chemical that's released.
Go educate the folks.
Yeah, so when you're in love, or you're feeling happy or sexually excited, or you want to be around this person a lot, that attachment, it's one of the chemicals that's released whenever you're around that person. And it's the same type of chemical that's released when you are on drugs and all that. So it's an addictive chemical, whereas you think that you're all in love with this person, but it's a natural response when you come together with somebody you're attracted to. So what happens is, after a while, that dopamine kind of fades down, and you get into another phase of chemical. Like, it's like the friendship, like it's a more level thing. And what happens is, you're like, I don't feel the same way. But it's a chemical, and so you're, and then you have these people who are dopamine addicts. And they're going from one relationship to the next for that same fix, but you will never keep that same feeling. It's like the first high of a drug or alcohol. You're constantly looking for that fix, but you're never going to have that feeling forever. The relationship is about continual growth and things like that. So that's why I said it's really about first knowledge, right? But how you start is how you're going to finish. I really believe that.
Okay. Well, for me, it was realizing what I really wanted and not what, like, my environment growing up. My parents was married, and everyone thought their relationship was like really great, and it is a great relationship. And so that was right. So, you do. And so that was my image growing up. So I always wanted to obtain that, not knowing if I wanted that, but that was the idea that was given to me. But when I was a little girl, I never talked about marriage. I never like see myself like as a bride walking down the aisle.
Me neither.
And stuff like that. I wasn't into things like that. But I know I was always like the homegirl with dudes.
Me too.
Right? So it's just like I'm always kicking it with these dudes. Yeah. And so we're like, so I'm kicking it in college, you know, and you know, I'm kicking it for years in college. So the foundation that
different.
It was different. Like the friendship was definitely there.
Right.
But I didn't even evaluate and say, okay, so what does it look like if I was to get married? I had no goal or no I didn't plan
of what it would look like.
Right. So now I'm starting a relationship with no plan or no idea, just a concept of what my parents had, and thinking that that's what I'm supposed to like be, especially when you know children are involved. And so I took no time to even evaluate the situation. I just went with it, you know. And so for me, in order to go with it, I can't say much, you know. I'm just gonna pull back in a relationship and just kind of watch it happen and try to make it work. And then, but you get older, and I'm gonna go get the door.
Just 1 second, we're gonna pause. So happy you can cut this.
I'm just coming. Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as Tiffany is getting the door, no. So, I think again, like for me, how you start is huge. It's really important. But in order to get to the start, you gotta want to be in a relationship. You gotta want to be committed to this person. You gotta want these things, because if you have no desire to want those things, then don't even get into a relationship. And if you are not even thinking about a relationship, I'm gonna go into that after you finish your story, Tiff. Then don't do it. It's okay to say no. It's okay. It's better to say no than to get in a relationship and be in one for years and go through shit, involve kids, and then have a separation.
Yeah, that was a lot.
So what are you were saying that?
So you know, I'm married and in the relationship, and what made me start evaluating things is my second child was born, and my mother will always say, he reminds me so much of you. He reminds me so much of you.
Free.
And yeah, because he's very free spirited. He says whatever comes to his mind. He's like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like looking at this child like, okay, so if I remind her,
right, then why
of
don't I feel
I'm like, but who am I then? Like right now, because I was totally not the person that she kept on saying that, you know, he was reminding her of.
Right.
Like I was not that person anymore. And so that's when I started evaluating who I am and what I wanted. That was the first time I ever done that in life. So I will say a lot of marriages start rocky and on the wrong foundation because you're not even evaluating yourself first. You're not complete. You're like broken pieces.
I said that today.
And so if you're broken pieces and trying to piece together the other person, you know, let me tell you something. When you're broken, you be trying to piece together the other person that's broken. You ain't even taking a look at it. And you're a broken piece too.
A broken piece cannot fix
somebody else.
Piece.
Yes.
It's like a piece of the puzzle saying that it's complete to another piece of a puzzle.
Yes.
Like,
so my separation had everything to do with me. And it was really selfish, but I needed to be selfish because I didn't want to go into my 40s with having that. Well, I wish I would have, could have, that whole mentality. But unfortunately, because I didn't take time to evaluate what I wanted out of life when I was in my 20s. And that is important for us to instill in our children, to evaluate themselves and evaluate what you want out of life. Write it down, you know, before you even like get into a relationship with anybody. Like you need a relationship with yourself.
And then I think also that is so true. And if your parents are around, and I'm not saying this about all parents, but it's important to still play an intricate part with your children when they're stepping into, and so some of our parents don't know to do this. I think that
my parents totally didn't have any conversation.
And it was more better married than to get burned.
Are they cutting grass outside? Do y'all hear that?
They're playing with the power steering. The power steering.
You close the window.
Yeah, they're playing with the power steering. Somebody's turning the wheels.
Let me close it?
No, somebody just walked in the car.
It was that thing, you know, when I got married. It's better to marry than to burn.
That too.
You know how many people have gotten married off of that? That scripture in the Bible? It's better to marry than to burn.
It got me too, because I was like, it got all of us in this room. Because I did say something about fornicate, and I remember that part, you know, because I can remember everybody was pushing me to start going to church at that time. But I never felt guilty for fornicating.
See, I do.
I didn't. Let me get that right. I didn't feel guilty.
I do.
But I did, you know, I don't want to send us to hell either, you know, like I know it's wrong, but I'm gonna do it. I don't feel guilty. But I mean, we could just get married too. You know what I'm saying? But I was just saying. But so that's what we did. It was like a dare, and we went out and got married.
Yeah, you did say that.
Yeah.
You got married on a dare.
Yes.
Hey.
Went to the court just as a
that just registered.
Okay.
I didn't have a witness. We had a witness out in the hallway, and so it was just a lot of things. Got the witness from out in the hallway. Hey, we're gonna be a witness.
We need the what? They didn't marry.
To be fair,
Today, right now.
So it was a lot, you know. I'm telling you, when we talk about our foundation, we do understand why we're in the place
that you
Absolutely.
are. And and that's big. That's so big, and it's so funny because this is probably what's gonna happen. I told my ex, I was like, you don't want to marry, because he's from the South. I'm a Northern girl, and I knew at the time that we were starting to kick it and date and stuff, that because I had just moved to North Carolina, and I was like, okay, this is the me going to school right now, me. You know what I'm saying? Not that I'm crazy wild or anything like that, but I like to travel. I like to, you know, I'm gonna get out here and I'm gonna be in the community. People gonna like, it's not gonna be sitting at home
low key
all the time. I have too many talents to be sitting here. And I told him that, I said, I think you might need to marry somebody who was raised to just sit at home and do the things you want to do. And whatever, like, because there are women who are raised in the South like that. And I said, I said that girl probably 100 times. And he used to get so mad at me. Well, why are you saying that? Because I see us probably not making it.
But you didn't give him that much detail. Or did you say, I see us probably not making it?
No, I didn't say that. But if somebody is telling you, I think you need somebody else, you don't really need to say nothing else. But yet and still, I got married. Better married than to burn. And this is a good guy. And he's wonderful. No, seriously, this is facts, and this is how it goes down.
And then, and actually, they do be good guys.
They are.
You know, and it's not anything. It's no shade on them or anything. It's just you are not the
good guy for me, probably. And that's what my pastor has said. Like, yeah, he's a good guy. Like when we went to counseling, and then his wife. The lady of the house hit it dead on the nail on the head of the nail, whatever you want to call it. She was like, you probably feel like, well, why am I not okay with this good God? What about me? not in a bad way. You know what I'm saying? Like, why isn't this situation okay? Because he's a good guy. He's a good dad. Like, what are some of the characteristics we want? We want somebody who know God, love God, right? Take care of the kids. Ambitious. Yeah. Keep themselves up, clean. Be careful with that piece. It's gonna slam down. You gotta lift it up first, and then take it to under there.
He's closing the window, so we want
y'all.
Cutting the grass.
So you want a guy who is takes care of himself. You want somebody like business minded. Good father, loves God. You want certain things. I don't know what he was just doing. He was acting like that. I don't know what that means. Snagging on that. I don't know.
I feel you.
That's good too. You do want a man that can
that is important. But not just that though. But if you just get that and not the other stuff, that's still gonna be an issue.
So why was this guy not good for me? Like, why is this not enough?
So let me ask you this. Was it possible for either one of those guys to hear what you want
I'm just gonna lay on the couch
and try to make change as you want it?
Yeah.
If you communicate, first of all, the woman needs to communicate.
He asking us personally.
No,
I'm asking personally. The guys,
the woman. Like, don't separate yourself from
that's what I'm saying. For me, I was not communicating. I would say I don't like that. I don't like this, but it wasn't in a language that he could hear me because we didn't have that. Our communication was not hitting. It would pass by. We was not on the same page because of the different background that we grew up in, the different environment we grew up in. I'm one of those people that are just calm and I just really
don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. You were like that. I remember.
Yeah, and so but now
she changed.
Yeah, I'm like, motherfucker, can I say that right?
Now what about if a person because I had a friend of mine who was in the music industry with me, was my partner traveling, and he was married. And when they went to therapy, they asked the guy, they explained their situation, and the guy said, I see the problem here. The problem was you left her behind. And my partner was like, well, what do you mean? And he was like, let's just go through it. He said, you guys got hit records, y'all been traveling around the world, you've been meeting people that do all kinds of things, all kinds of businesses, all kinds of religions and belief systems and food and natural this and you come and she's at home working in a hair salon, talking to the same girls in the community, and you traveled around the world, came back, and now you're like, I can't be with this girl no more because
she ain't doing nothing.
You done compared her to everybody that you traveled around the world and met, but you left her knowledge-wise.
Ooh, that's
I can honestly say, in 2015, when I took a 9-month global spiritual leadership course for the 9 months, I would go away for a retreat once a month on the weekend. And they strip you of everything. Like you're not watching TV. You're getting to know who you are. You're starting from starting point. And so I had so many tools after that. After those 9 months, and it made me start evaluating my life more, myself more, and I was not communicating with my husband at the time because he couldn't understand where I was coming from. And that's what you're saying, and it wasn't, and I could not bring him along with my growth because
that's not something.
It wasn't my responsibility to do that. But I would get angry that he was not
on your level,
and so I would try to
interested.
I used to like have my self-help stuff playing, and he was like, "Could you put that on your headphones, please?" I'm like, "You did it." In my mind. I wasn't
because you went through that.
Yeah,
but that's how you were feeling.
But I wonder if he could go back in time and somebody was to say, these are the periods that you need to pay attention to what she's doing, because she's growing. And you need to grow with her, or she's going to grow past you or without you, if he would then do it.
I think that
that's
good, but I think you should never get comfortable. Period. So even if she was a hairstylist, okay, you're a hairstylist. What else do you want out of life? Do you want to own your own shop? Okay, you got your own shop now. You got 2, 3, 4 shops. You got real estate popping, because when you do these things and you're elevating, you're elevating. So you should never get comfortable in the relationship and just stop where you are. I'm a teacher, or not anything against teachers, but I'm a teacher, okay? What after school program? You know what I'm saying? What are you doing to elevate yourself? You should never get comfortable, period. But if you do see your significant other growing, and you see that the other one is not growing, I think that you should have that conversation with this person to help them and say, okay, you know, I want us to be here. Maybe sit down and do the vision board with them and say, okay, what are our goals? Because if you're in a relationship and you have no destination, what the hell are you doing? Like, where are we going in this vehicle? We going down the street?
What if the person don't want to do no vision board, Pamela?
That's okay. That's a problem. Then that's where you.
But honestly, it's not a problem, because
it is.
Okay, it's a problem for the relationship. But this is what I have learned, to let people be where they are in their own journey, and it's not your responsibility, because what happens is you're giving all this energy into help trying to motivate them to self-improve, when you really need to focus. Your sole focus is on yourself, and it will be great if both of you can like go at the same time, and then he can see what you're doing and be like, oh, I want to do that too, like that. She's improving herself, but it's not your responsibility to make him do it, and vice versa.
Right. I mean, I know what you're saying. Like, it's not the full. I'm not saying take on the full responsibility of this person's journey. There's no way you can do that. But what I am saying is introduce to that person, you know, a few times. This is what I'm doing. Show them, and then if they do not grow, you need to be communicating with this person. This is something that I want out of a partner. This is something that I want us to have a destination. And I said it's a problem because eventually it's probably going to be a separation. Because you're growing apart, because this person is elevating and then this person doesn't want to. You know what I mean? So it might have to be a few times where you're introducing this to a person, trying to, you know, show them different things, and it may take a year. I'm not saying stand it forever, but if that person is worth it, you might want to plant some seeds and maybe try to take them along with you on the journey and not leave them totally behind.
Now, do you think that sometimes separation is just needed for the
Absolutely.
growth? Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that separation is needed. It does wake people up.
Yeah, because for me, well, separation, I'm saying it's real selfish, was needed for me. And I hope he gets something out of it too. I hope he gets growth out of it, but that's not my main concern.
Well, you know, when it comes to like spirituality and stuff, right? There's actually, there's actually some words that says, let me see if I can get it right. Where it says, those that I led astray, none can guide. So it's basically, if God doesn't allow the communication to match up, nobody can fix it. So it has nowhere to go but separate. You know what I mean? Like, I might be saying it not exactly right, but it is real
scripture. Yes, I need that.
It's real scripture.
But I feel that because it's one
scripture.
that says, "Let the deep cry out to the deep."
That's true.
And so, because sometimes you could be speaking some good stuff and it's on deaf ears.
It's on deaf ears.
They cannot receive it because it's
they
just
are not deep.
They're not deep. And so I learned that, you know, I mean, sometimes he would, in my marriage, he would catch certain things, right? But the action behind, like if you catch it, then I'm waiting to see the action and the consistency.
I think that's where communication comes in.
Right.
Because people may not know what to do with things that you
books.
Right, but however, a lot of times in the African American community, books were not a part of something that was important. So that's a new thing that you're introducing to a grown person who you have is like, it's a harder development. You know what I'm saying?
You're right.
You know, it's just different things. Like if I give you, you know, if I give one person $50 versus this person with $50, what are you going to do with it? You know what I'm saying? So that just determines that. But it's not to say that this person that spent it. But however, there is scripture in the Bible about that. Talents. When God gave one person this talent, 1 talent, 3 talents, 5 talents, and then the person with 1 talent buried it. Like, I'm going to just save this because blase. You know what I'm saying? So, and then it was like 3 talents, and then the person flipped it. And then it was 5 talents, and the person flipped it again. You know, on another way. And so then God was like, my good and faithful servant. But to the one person with the 1 talent, it was like, I don't know you, you know? So that was the difference with it. Like, you don't just do that. You do something with what you're given, you know? So I think in regards to separation, I think sometimes it's good for you. I think it could go either way. I think with separation, it could go whereas it could bring you back together, or it could just lead you in the direction that you were going in anyhow. You know?
Yeah, and I believe that too.
Yeah. So what's a healthy way? Because we talked about this today, which is why I was shocked that you were like, that's not but I'm good with it because I feel like, you know, you want to share your experience so that other people don't make the same mistakes. So we were talking about separation earlier, and I was saying specifically some of the things that I did in my separation, which now I'm reflecting on, and I'm like, I think that was a big mistake.
Yeah. Because you still have to know if you, like, any decision you make, it has to come from a place of healing first.
Right.
Because it's hard for everyone when it's the family separate. So decisions that you're making from a broken place is not beneficial for you or the other person. And sometimes you don't even know you're making the decision from that broken place.
Right.
So it's best not to make decisions until you're really evaluate like what you're feeling.
That's a long process.
It is a very long process. But it comes in bits and pieces. Because you don't have like a lot of decisions you have to make at one time.
Right. But there are big decisions that you have to make early on though. And again, you might be making them from a broken place.
But see, so what I do, my tool is, let me process that.
But how do you process not saying that you are broken?
One time it took a whole 2 weeks.
Girl,
and I got back like 2 weeks later and I was like, okay, this is what I was thinking. You know what I'm saying? But I really had to like think about where I was coming from, and like I'm totally aware. And this is another thing, you know, being aware of what you're doing and who you are, and really being conscious. So I'm totally aware what the emotions that's attached to my decision.
So I was not. Yeah, I wasn't.
And then
I was saying it, but I was doing different stuff.
Yeah.
And what really honestly pissed me off is that some of my decisions were repetitive. But it was like I was saying it, but I still did it.
Yeah.
It's like, why did I feel like your feelings were more important, like, than mine when I'm saying no, wait, on this relationship?
Right.
Because that's what I said.
Right, but it was guilt.
Like,
guilt.
It was, but why?
I mean,
That's the part that really pissed me off about
a lot of your decisions.
Yeah, to even get married at the time, because, like I said, I was just here, moved to North Carolina, and I knew, that, I was just starting, and I had not met other people. I had not got my feet wet. Like, I knew I was gonna grow. Like, I grow. That's period. And so I knew the decision was premature, but I was basing it off of different factors and then I did not have a desire to get married at that time. It was just, you met somebody kind of thing, and it probably should have stayed a business relationship, but I made the decision to do it, and all the while I'm saying things that are opposite of us getting married.
Right, but so this goes back to how the society that you're in, how you're programmed a certain way to do certain things, and it goes back to learning yourself and who you are before you get into relationships. Because when you're in a relationship and you're growing together, it can alter,
or near each other,
and it alters the way you think about yourself. Like, other people around you influences you all the time. So sometimes it's not the time to be in when you're in your 20s. And I always say, like, for me, it was just like in my 20s.
Because you don't know what you want and who you are.
Oh my God.
You have to experience more. And I think,
if I'm not mistaken, and everything,
I think that they said that the frontal lobe of your brain does not even completely
close
until 20.
What, 7? Well, no,
I don't know.
Like 20s.
It's in your 20s that your brain doesn't even fully develop up here until you're in your 20s. So when people say that, like, parents be like, oh, you're out of your mind, or what are you thinking about? Literally, your cognitive thinking, your reasoning is not developed. So why in the world, like, I initially got married.
Reasoning right there.
Right, but I got married when I was like 21. All my 20s are gone, down. Like, I had no 20s. It was all marriage and man and child, and stuff like that. But let's talk about what we were talking about earlier when we said that, quickly, what we said about what we did in the separation earlier. We were talking about how we pacified emotions.
Oh, yeah.
I want to get to that.
Yes.
So,
mine was, when I was pacifying the emotion, it was because I was feeling guilty about leaving the relationship. And so I felt obligated to continue to pacify and make sure he was okay. Because I know, because I knew it was my fault because I didn't say anything. And so my life coach, when she told me, after I'm feeding into going back and forth with my ex, I'm feeding into it, and I didn't have to. I could have shut it down and been like, okay.
Certain things, right.
Right, but I felt the need to continue to give him that energy. And she was like, the only reason why you're giving it energy is because you still feel guilty. You haven't forgave yourself. And then I'm like, what? Forgive myself or what? And she was like, you have not taken ownership of taking this man through this 16-year marriage, not speaking up for yourself, and now you're at the point where you feel guilty because now you're out of it, and so now you're pacifying, his emotions. So really, you're still not free.
You're not.
So really, you're still connected.
And then you would be like me, whereas I did that for years. Whereas I was like, wait a minute, Rasheem, I need like 3 more minutes.
To be continuing.
He telling me to wrap it up. Y'all gonna have to listen to
Y'all
this. Just sit down. Watch it on Sunday.
Start playing
3 minutes.
Playing the Grammy music on
3 minutes, right. Don't play the
I know, right?
Real quick. So what I did is I pacified for years. for years to make sure that this person's mental well-being. Let me not do XYZ, or let me not do this or do this way, and I have to move this way on eggshells almost to a degree, just to make sure that this person was okay because he has my son, which is good, I think, for a period of time. And then you gotta, if you know you're not gonna be together, break away from it. I can't live for your emotions, because then I'm not truly free. And what it did was it played its part in another relationship that I was starting, and the person got really upset and thought that something was going on that wasn't, because I was pacifying his relationship. Yeah. That's deep, y'all.
Yeah.
But we can't go
Thank
into
you.
it.
I learned from that, though.
We gotta go.
Yeah, we do.
So this is Thinking Out Loud. Watch Save the Arts TV. Follow us, Camellia at Madam's Music.
Tip Speaxs and Tiffany Speaxs on Facebook.
And this is Thinking Out Loud. Follow, subscribe, Save the Arts TV.
Say the Arts TV. Let's go.